show with
Wow.
You're welcome. What? I thought you were going to wear the suit.
Yeah, I didn't want to dress up like every single other week or what have you.
Anyways, shall we begin?
From Russia with Love, published in 1957 as the fifth Bond novel and released in 1963 as the second Bond film, follows Bond on a mission to Istanbul, where a Russian cipher clerk, female Russian cipher clerk, mind you, has apparently fallen for a picture of him. And there's also the fact that she has access to a decoding device that the British Secret Service kinda could use.
A lector in the film.
But a Spectre in the novel. The film writer probably didn't want to confuse Spectre and Spectre, two different things. One's a decryption device, and the other is the evil overarching spy agency, or what have you. Anyways, what we find out is that the agency Smersh in the novel and Spectre in the film want to basically take British morale down a peg by, killing Bond, because he's gotten, kind of famous in the spy world and what have you. It's basically to disrupt the morale of the nation and the spy service.
In Istanbul, Bond meets up with Kerim Bey, the head of MX6's Turkish station. He experiences some of, life in Istanbul, and comes back to his hotel room to find Titania waiting there in his bed with just a piece of lace around her neck. Yeah. Anyways, they get it on, and unbeknownst to them, they are spied upon by Smersh agents. Hiding behind the mirror with their cameras and everything.
They come up with a plan to make it out of the country with the device on the fabled Orient Express. Did they check the manifesto to make sure there was no one on there named Ratchet or Poirot?
No.
Aww. Anyways, the trio, Bond, Tatiana, and Kerim, make it onto the train along with 3 Russian assassins, all 3 of whom are dispatched along with Kerim in an encounter with one of them. Bond and Tatiana meet up with an apparent MI6 agent who was sent along as backup, but it turns out he is Donovan Red Grant, the Smersh executioner, chief executioner, mind you, who was sent to kill Bond. Long story short, Grant gets killed, Bond survives, Tatiana is sent off to someplace safe, it's not necessarily said where, and then Bond goes and finds Rosa Klebb in a hotel room, and they fight, she with her poisoned knitting needles / poisoned knife in a shoe.
And that's the novel and film for you in more or less a nutshell.
As for motifs, the main one is being a part of 2 worlds. East versus West, rich versus poor, country versus country, things along those lines. For example, you have Red Grant. His poolside possessions, like his watch, whatever, are nice, or, classy. Meanwhile, his apartment, well, it's Russian provided, of course, but it's like bland and soulless, I'm gonna say. There's also the fact that he's the product of a one-night stand of a German circus performer and an Irish woman. They don't reveal too much about his mother in the novel. And there's also Kerim. He is of Turkish background, but he was recruited by MI6 to be the head of the Turkish station there.
You've also got the focus on the human body, control of it, and sexuality. Grant is rather toned, as you can see in the film, but Klebb is almost horrified of him in the novel because of his apparent asexuality. Klebb is also described as being toad-like and squat, and also a swine of a woman. Yeah. Usually you associate beauty with like swans, and well, you get the idea there. And there's the fact that she also dresses up in a gaudy nightie and excessive makeup and looks like the quote-unquote oldest and ugliest whore to try and teach Tatiana some seduction techniques, but Tatiana just flees. That's in the novel, mind you. I don't think that Lagulenia could pull that off in the film. And again, what do I know? And as for body control, Klebb pretty much takes over, quote-unquote, takes over control of the body of Donovan, suggesting that he has no soul. And there's also the fact that during her briefing, Klebb tells Tatiana that her body belongs to the state.
And the exotic element isn't as prevalent. Bond tends to view the Turkish as untrustworthy or suspicious. Even though, when he first meets Kareem, he labels him as an instant BFF. Pretty much. And there's also the fact that when they go to a gypsy camp, Bond and Kareem, of course, they find two gypsies catfighting over one guy.
Ah, yes, the sexism. Yeah, the film only passes 2 out of the 3 prongs of the Bechdel test. If you want to know more about the test and what films either do or don't pass it, just look it up. It's going to be the first or second thing that shows up if you do a Google search. Anyways, you've got the gypsy catfight. You've got the fact that Bond slaps a drunk Tatiana, and in the novel, he basically alludes to the fact that, if he had more room, he'd, put her over his knee and slap her ass. And there's also the fact that during the scene where the assassin is shot and is caught out of the window, which also doubles as the mouth for a, movie advertisement, Bond says she should have kept her mouth shut. And Karim also alludes to the fact that all women have this apparent fantasy of being swept up off their feet, taken to a cave, and being raped. Yeah. But the changes from novel to film are more drastic than the changes made for Dr. No.
The 10 chapters of Russian planning is shortened to maybe 15, 20, maybe 30 minutes of the whole film. And a lot of the character depth is lost in that conversion. You don't see as much of the planning, it's more spread out. There's also the fact that Donovan Grant is renamed Donald Grant. He's blonde instead of a redhead. He appears more in the film than he does in the novel, and he's played by Robert Shaw, aka Quint from Jaws. Farewell and adieu to your fair Spanish ladies, and what have you. Tatiana is more loyal to the Russian cause. She's more of a foot soldier as opposed to a woman who, happens to be a Russian cipher clerk and, has her own thoughts and opinions and what have you. Kareem is played by a Mexican actor. Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that. And there's also the fact that Bond actually breaks into the Russian consulate to steal the device, as opposed to Tatiana just walking out with it.
Anyways, both the novel and the film have more of a Cold War, East versus West focus that unite the plots for both of them. But this film overall is a good adaptation.
But the novel provides more depth that the film tends to gloss over.
Anyways, there are, of course, things that I haven't touched upon, but if you want to talk about them more in the comments or in video responses, it's more than welcome. If you're reading or watching along, that's great. Let me know. We'll have a nice big discussion about it in the comments or video responses or what have you. So I will see you all next week for Goldfinger. I don't have any. It's just plain no green thumbs or anything either. So, see you all next week.